Hey there. Welcome. All right. Let me get that open, make sure I can see. Okay. Hey, back here for what will probably be uh the last show of the preseason. Season's getting ready to kick off in just a couple weeks. Um so probably what the plan is, at least, is no show next week. But then after that, season starting, we'll get into it and hopefully be looking at trying to do about a show a week. That's the plan. We'll see if that works, if I'm able to keep that up. Got this mic cord here. I keep thinking I'm going to bump it and make lots of loud, annoying sounds. Okay. Excuse me. So, so we get the preseason almost over. We still got the SLU game and the SIU game coming up, but those are definitely kind of last tweaks, last things. Really, the last couple games, last two games, probably were the crux of the preseason. The real, let's see what we're going to look like in this league, in this division this year. And I think we finally saw something that was at least a little promising. Uh, if you're watching and you were at either the game in Springfield or the game in Columbia, please let me know. Love to hear what your impression of the game was. Fortunately, I didn't get to see them, so I'm having to hear through Twitter and what everyone else is saying about them. So definitely, if you were there, let me know. So the big concern going into these games was definitely the lack of goals. This is something we saw for the last 2 years under Shelley. Would hit goals in kind of bunches. Would have the game where we'd score 5, 6, 7, 8 goals, and then go games where we don't score any for a long stretch. And for some of us, remember that was the same problem we had under Shelley with AC St. Louis. It was the same problem. Looked good, maybe going up to the final third, but then just nothing there at the end. And that's what we saw from Dale the last 2 years, is that very similar. Good possession, good control, but then you get in that final third and just there's nothing there. And we certainly all have been hoping that Preki is the man to fix that. And certainly his CV would say that. And that's certainly from him, what he said to us is that his plan is to play a very attacking style, and hopefully that'll fix a lot of the goal scoring issues we've had in the past. Now, obviously, a lot of us were very concerned when we ship our top goal scorer off to another team. That is a little concerning, but I think most of us have had faith that we're bringing in higher quality players. We're bringing in some good talent that can really see us take another step forward, especially in that area. But up until really the game against Swope Park, we hadn't seen it so far. There was just nothing. There's very little in product there. Say the thing that had been really encouraging is that it seems like when we have the ball, we turn and we get upfield quickly. We're not wasting time. We're not just bouncing the ball around in our own half or in the midfield. We're looking to get into their end as quickly as we can. That's really encouraging. That's a big positive step from what we'd seen in the past. But there still hasn't been that final ball. There hasn't been the goals there. And that's something that hopefully what we saw against Swope Park was these players who most of whom they haven't played together. They're finally starting to click. They're getting that extra little thing they need to turn some good positive play into goals. And so hopefully that's what we saw the start of, at least against Swope Park. Now, hopefully we'll see a lot more of that, and hopefully that'll continue to progress. And like I said, that's just a start. I do want to recommend, if you get a chance, go to the St. Louligans website. Matt Bird wrote a great article talking about the preseason and how that that final getting that victory over Swope Park really gives us a little bit of hope we've been looking for. And like I said, it's a great article. I really recommend taking the time to go read it. But it is a time where we're finally starting to see a little bit more of the team we've been hoping we were getting. And it's going to take it's going to take a little bit of time. For one, it's going to take time for these players to gel. I mean, it just is. Thankfully, they've had a lot. They're getting a lot of preseason games in this year, more than we ever have before, and so they're going to get that time to gel together to figure out how each other wants to play. And so hopefully, come March 25th, they're ready to go. They're all in lockstep. They're hitting their stride, and we can really do something in Louisville. The thing that's going to be hard, that this is going to be hard, is if we don't do that. I mean, what if we come out really flat in Louisville? What if? I mean, even if they don't embarrass us, I mean, they don't have to embarrass it. It could just be a okay game. If we walk out of there with a point, but it was just flat and dead. I mean, really is a question of how we're going to. I think would rather go in there and lose, but really play a passionate, exciting game. It's not saying I want us going, hell bent, just trying to score as many goals as we can, but that there's the energy and the focus there. That I think that'll get us past a lot. That even if we don't get the points, at least then that's something. And I think that is going to be crucial. I mean, I really, really do, because one of the things that has been a struggle, I think, for a lot of us is that this is essentially a brand new team. We've got, I mean, really, the guys we're looking at that are going to see a fair deal of playing time that we're used to. It's Cochran, who, I mean, he was new last year, but we, most of us knew who he was, at least. We've been paying somewhat attention to his career. So he doesn't feel like somebody who's only been around for a year. He feels like, somebody who grew up in the area. Seth looks like he's getting some time so far. He at least looks like a guy that Preki sees that potential in. How much we'll see him once these games start counting, who knows? But even him, he's a guy we didn't see a ton of last year. I don't know how. I mean, I was a big fan of him when he first showed up. And I think just because he offered something different than what a lot of what we had. But, I don't know how much he's endeared himself to the fan base as a whole. And so there's probably a lot of people who have no real strong connection with him at all. And I mean, other than that, you're looking at, we got Chad Bond, who a lot of people really like, but, doesn't seem like he's really going to be factoring real heavily, at least into Preki's plans. And, if you've got these guys who, especially the guys that had been around and that we thought like, okay, we knew there was going to be a lot of change on this team, and we were bad. I think there were definitely a lot of guys we were all very shocked left. And a lot of these people were favorites of the fans, and it's going to be hard to replace those guys. And, when I watch this team now, I know some of these guys by reputation a little bit. A few of the guys I've looked up, I've tried to watch some of, but I don't know these guys. I don't know them yet. And it takes some time to get to that point. And if they come out and they don't come out strong and they don't come out winning, but playing well, I'll just use that. I mean, there's a ton of different ways you could describe it, but just playing well, it's going to be harder for them to endear themselves to the fans. I think that the inaugural team had the benefit of they were the inaugural team. I mean, nobody knew what to expect. Nobody knew anything. And while we didn't know most of the players, we didn't know anything. So it didn't matter what they did. And, when the first season got started, they didn't look awful. So, we certainly could give them that benefit. But I don't know if these guys are going to get that. I mean, I really don't. So I hope they don't need it. I guess I hope that they come out understanding what's going to be expected of them, understanding the need to really, I hate saying give 110%, but that's the mentality. And if they do that, they will endear themselves to the fans, and the fans will love them. And, we'll learn all these names and we'll get to know these guys. But if they don't, it's going to be hard. And what's going to really be a struggle is if the results aren't there and you don't have a connection to the players, it gets very hard to stick with them. Whereas if you have that connection and that bond with the players, I'm not talking about like a person like, oh yeah, that we've met them at these meet and greets, and that's all great. But there have been plenty of guys on the team who are great guys and nice to hang out with, but they didn't do it on the field. And, personally, I mean, is it cool to get to meet these guys and hang out? Yes, but I honestly don't care. I really don't. I don't. I'm not. They're not being paid to be my buddy. They're being paid to play soccer, and I'm going to feel much more of a connection with them by how they play than I am going to be if they share a beer with me. I hope they do that too, but that's not going to make up for them building that connection on the field. And I said they don't have to be the greatest player, but they have to show they understand what they understand what we're all about, what we expect of our players. One of the things I always like is, we have, in St. Louis, we have essentially two Man of the Match awards. We have the Pleats Player of the Game, if they're still sponsoring it this year. We have that player who was the best player, the player who was contributed the most. Whatever way they're measuring that was the. Then you have the Luligan Man of the Match, and that person, sometimes it's the same guy, but a lot of times it's not, because it's not about the player who played the best. It's about the player who played with that mindset and that mentality that we as fans expect. And I think that really shows what we want out of our players, that you can have those kind of two separate awards that both are telling you what we want. I mean, there's a reason that, we as fans, for the most part, we really loved Musa. I mean, he certainly could lose it from time to time, get out of control, but we love the passion and energy even with Sam Fink. Very similar way. He wasn't the most technically gifted defender, not by a long shot, but he played with a desire back there that that made up for, first of all, allowed him on the field to make up for mistakes, but also allowed us to overlook mistakes because, like, well, he's Sam Fink. We like him because we know what he's doing out there. And not to harp too much on former players, but I mean that obviously was the big complaint about Brian Gaul in the first season. Especially once he moved back in the midfield, his play wasn't that bad. It was just the attitude that was perceived by fans just wasn't acceptable. And I do think I think it's going to be really quite something for some of these guys to get that when they go to Louisville and they see 200 Louligans rolling in there. They're going to get an idea of what that attitude that's expected of them is. But the good thing is I know Preki is not going to let them get away with not having the right attitude. And, as long as those guys, I mean, honestly, if they match 50% of what Preki's bringing, then they'll be fine by us, I think. So, don't really have much else to say. Let me check here. Nothing going on in the chat. All right. Yeah, not much really else to say. We do have the that first game coming up. I'm looking forward to it. It's actually gonna be my first road trip. Just haven't been able to do any before, but I'm making sure I can make this one, and I'm glad I did because it looks like it's going to be quite the epic trip. Not sure about the SLU game. That one looks exciting, but I know I have some plans. Not going to the SAU game. I imagine very few people are, which is a shame. That looked like a fun one to go to, but not worth the cost that they're trying to put on that. But I said that's about all I got for tonight. If you do have any questions, please email them, tweet, Facebook, whatever, YouTube. Please put comments, like the video, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. It's all STLFC Fan TV. If you want to be on here and hosting and doing this stuff with me, please do. That's why I'm not just talking to myself. Would love to have some other opinions going on in here. I don't know what kind of sound my cat just made, but anyway, but yeah, if you're interested, please just shoot me an email or comment, or find me on Facebook or whatever. Or if you want to do any sort of technical things, that's great because I'm not very good at it. It's impressive. I just got this going. So again, please let me know if you're interested. But definitely, tell people once the season gets going, I'm really hoping we get some chat, some discussion going, because that's what's really going to make this show fun and something a little bit different, a little bit special, I hope. So anyway, that is all for now. And if I don't talk to you before, I will see you all in Louisville. Thanks. Bye.